rig pursuit. We can tell you that this started in Santa Clarita. We're getting word this started at a gas station when the big rig driver was trying to fill up, and it was stolen then. Going over the center divider here, are we taking an exit, Tim? It looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like you're coming
exchange
down.
To 134.
Yeah, 134 East is probably going to pick up because the westbound you have to get off at Verdugo. So this is going to be the East 134, which will take it down through Eagle Rock area down into Pasadena, and then they'll join the 210. So, it's going to keep wide open here. The 134 is 4 to 5 lanes most of the way, and once it's the 210, that's going to stay wide open as well. So that choke point that I was hoping for down by the East LA Interstate just went away, but CHP will adjust to that. That's one thing you have to be in police work is flexible and go with what the suspect does and flex to his actions, and then take advantage of the area knowledge that you have to be able to get out ahead of this vehicle.
All right, so this is the first time that we've seen the big rig off the 5 now on the 134 East in the Glendale area. As I was saying, as we zoom in here, it's hard to see. You can't really get a look at all of the suspect there behind the wheel. This was essentially carjacked from a big rig driver in Santa Clarita, jumped on the 5 freeway. We picked this up in Newhall, and now we're here in the Glendale area, eastbound 134. CHP is the lead agency. We have former police officer Tim Lynn on the line with us. He's really helping to paint a picture of how this may come to an end. Eventually, a pit maneuver is obviously out of the question given the size of the big rig, and we've learned from former officer Tim Lynn that the only way to bring this to an end is establishing spike strips out there on the highway to damage those tires to bring this to an end. So in terms of strategizing, Tim, I mean, this is such an event for CHP to try to figure out how do we do this? Even though there isn't a lot of traffic, it's still hard to do.
Yeah, it is, because you have to deal with the other traffic that's on the freeway by laying out those spike strips. And so you try to get to an area, like I was explaining, that is more of a contained area, 1 or 2 lanes if you can get it down to that. But unfortunately, like I said, the 134 here, when it transitions into the 210, it's going to stay pretty wide all the way along. But there's the way you deploy spike strips, there's ways you can pull it in front of the vehicle. And the advantage they'll have there is this big rig is not as maneuverable as a car. We've seen in the past where they pull the spike strips out in front of cars. The cars have braked, made lane changes, and drove around the spike strips. Now, this person won't be able to do that as nimbly of this big rig as he would in a car. So that'll be at the CHP's advantage. But, that's pretty much right now a bag of tricks. That's all they have on this. Just a matter of also talking to the driver to say how much gas or how much diesel did you get in, and how much diesel was in this vehicle when it was taken. So maybe they know it's low on fuel and they're just going to try to run it out. But, he's eastbound now, and so 210 takes you a very long ways unless he takes one of the southbound freeways. It's going to be a long run out to the east.
What is your word to drivers? I know there aren't many on the roads tonight, but nonetheless, this can happen at any given moment when you're out in Southern California. If you do happen to see a pursuit coming up behind you, how should you, how do you react?
Well, you would with any emergency vehicle, and especially at these speeds running only about 62, 63 miles an hour. You would see the red lights coming up behind you first. You probably wouldn't even notice the car, but you would react as you normally would. Start slowly signaling, moving to your right to get out of the way and give the passage. But if you catch yourself in a situation where you see high-speed vehicles coming at you from the rear, the best bet is just hold your lane, hold your speed, and don't do anything erratic, because you see, kind of pushing that vehicle off. Yeah,
another big rig.
Yeah, he got him next to that big rig and kind of pushed him over to the side. See, that big rig did exactly what I said. He saw the lights coming, slowly move over. But, if you have a time and room, just signal, move slowly to the right, and let the vehicles pass. But if you're in a situation, like I was saying, it's coming at you at high speed, the best bet is just maintain your lane, maintain your speed, and just hope they don't hit you as they go by. Because if you try to get out of the way, you may move right just as the suspect moves right. So you want to, give as least amount of difficulty to the driver you can. But in a situation like this, you have a slow speed, basically big rig here moving along, and you're going to see those lights coming and probably not even realize what they're chasing until it gets right up on you.
Yeah, and that seemed to be the case with that fellow big rig driver. It almost appeared as if the suspect here was trying to run that one off the road, and then he saw the flashing lights, and so he did exactly what you said, is to move on over and get out of the way. You don't want to become part of this by any stretch. So now, looking at our extreme nav, we're in Eagle Rock here, California, 134 westbound here at the Glendale Avenue exit, Figueroa Street. Ooh, it looks like those speeds are picking up, or now they're decreasing. Sometimes when the chopper's maneuvering around, it messes with the speed, so it's hard to tell if, in fact, it's really going as fast as it's saying at this point. We'll let that stabilize. So we're waiting for spike strips, if that's going to happen. And we're almost to the 11:30 bottom of the hour, and I want to let our viewers on Fox 11 Plus, Channel 13, our sister station, let you know that 11:30 we will sign off from our coverage on Fox 11 Plus, but we will continue our coverage on Fox 11. So if you're watching us on Fox 11 Plus and you want to see how this plays out, please turn the channel to Fox 11 in just about 60 seconds when we sign off from Fox 11 Plus. All right, 134 East, Tim, Eagle Rock now. I was just given a little information about that container and the fact that all of these containers are trackable by the container number on the back. Do you know anything about that?
I know they have inventory from the shipper. They know what's in the container by the serial number that's on the container. Now you would have to search out the shipper, and I'm sure the paperwork for that container is inside the truck. I'm sure the driver didn't have it in his hand when he was out putting in diesel, but they can back it up through the shipper. The shipper will know what's in there and be able to give that information to the CHP. But yeah, they do have numbers on these containers where they can be able to keep an eye on it.
Okay, so we're counting down to 11:30 right now. So our viewers on Fox 11 Plus, we thank you for joining us on Good Night LA. You can continue to watch The Pursuit on Channel 11. And we'll say good night to you officially. And we'll, of course, stay with you on Channel 11. Welcome to an extended coverage version of Good Night LA as we bring you this live pursuit of a big rig that's underway 134 eastbound. We've just gone from Santa Clarita to Newhall to Glendale to the South Arroyo area now, westbound 134, and speeds in the 50s. This was essentially what we're told from authorities, carjacked from a gas station as the big rig driver was trying to fill up this big rig. Someone jumped into the cab and took off, and here we are, and we've been with it for about 20 minutes now for the better part of Good Night LA on Channel 11. So we have former Officer Tim Lynn joining us with all of his knowledge, and now that we're zoomed into the cab, it looked like, I don't know if it was a cell phone or lights from perhaps just the freeway. It's hard to tell. But you can only imagine what this suspect is thinking, and the fact that they know how to even operate this thing is quite something, too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It takes a skill to be able to operate a very large vehicle like this, go through all the gears, work the clutch and things of that sort, and not stall it out. So obviously he has some experience. This person has some experience in a big rig, but he's kind of just holding that right shoulder now, keeping it really slow, and he's coming up on the bridge that goes over the arroyo. And so he's been coming up on the 210, and that'll give him a choice of going south back into Pasadena or continuing out east towards the Inland Empire. But he could switch. I believe he can make that transition to that northbound. But you see that is just him shaking the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And out of frustration, out of excitement, out of just sheer lunacy, he's up there just shaking the wheel. And now if he does too much of that at higher speeds and starts actually getting the truck to move back and forth, just the sheer weight of that truck will go out of control pretty quickly. So these big rig drivers have to be very careful when they're driving this. They're not as maneuverable as you would think because there's so much weight and so much mass. So as he's working along here, looks like he's getting over to the right side here, slowing a little bit as he moves along. So, no, he's probably just trying to figure out where he wants to go at this point. trying to make a decision: is he going to get off the freeway or continue on, or he may see something ahead? We're pretty tight on the car truck itself, so we don't know what's out ahead of it at this point. But we do know there's a load of CHP officers behind it, using the lights to block the traffic behind so nobody passes, but you still have the vehicles that are coming on. But right now, at 31 miles an hour, it's a really slow speed.
Yeah, so the speeds are certainly decreasing right now. I just looked up CMA CGM, by the way. That's what you see there on the back of that container. It's the third largest container shipping company in the world, in 160 countries through 400 offices. According to what I'm seeing here, the main office in Southern California is in Long Beach. So this is certainly quite the advertisement for this shipping company. Tim, you alluded to it a little bit. Talk about the mindset as we're now in the Pasadena area, 210 eastbound here, currently passing the Hill Avenue exit. The mindset of somebody who's just going to seemingly steal a big rig to go for a joyride, and I say that based on the fact that we've seen that a couple of times with them just jerking around the wheel just to sort of say, hey, this is fun.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Like I said, you have that crystal ball in your glove compartment that you pull out and tell you what this guy is thinking at that time. You have no idea. Like I said, they have to look at all possibilities. Is this just somebody with a mental impairment, a alcohol impairment, a drug impairment that just saw a big rig sitting there, door open? Maybe the engine was running, for all you know, and he just jumped in. But or it could be targeted for the load that's in that container, because the container, it's a large shipping company. People rent these containers to put their products in to get them to where they want them to go. So the company who owns that container probably has no connection to the person, the shipper, whose product is inside there. So could it be, a shipping container full of high-end electronics, or is it just some guy who was drunk in the parking lot of the gas station and just decided to take a joyride? And the way those little maneuverings going around, I've seen this before with other suspects and other vehicles, to where they get frustrated. They're being chased. They're out of ideas. They have no idea what their plan is, and they start getting that frustration going and that adrenaline building up, and they start whipping the wheel of the car and whipping around on the freeway for no reason at all. And he was kind of doing the same thing, because we've only seen it 2 times now, to where he just rocks the cab by moving the steering wheel. And he's not really driving as fast as he could. I mean, on the freeway, he could actually get that big rig up to a very high rate of speed, but luckily the freeway is empty. He's going at a slow rate of speed, not catching up with traffic ahead. And, it's just that you're going to have to let him dictate how this pursuit's going to end and how, where it's going to go, like I said. But CHP is using their local knowledge to figure out a best place to be able to possibly deploy spikes. But there he's coming up, driving up behind the car.
It's almost like,
right behind it.
Yeah, and that's what we saw with the big rig too.
It just kind of goes at them, for no reason.
Yeah, just to scare them. That's terrible. Okay, so this is the 210 eastbound Pasadena now. Speeds picking up again. So we were just down to the 40s. Now we're in the mid-70s. So more traffic here. I just feel for all the drivers. Please, if you have a loved one that's coming home at this late hour on this Wednesday night who may be in this area, who has reason to be on the 210, anywhere in this vicinity, please alert them that there is this big rig pursuit that is underway. CHP is the lead agency, and this started, as far as we're told, in Santa Clarita. We picked it up when it was in Newhall on the 5. It's been on the 134, now the 210 here. So making its way through the highways and freeways of Southern California now. We've seen a little bit of the sort of mocking of the big rig by making the most of having that wheel and going back and forth and seeing that cab rocking. And here's another big rig passing as our shot seems to get a little grainy here right now. I think that's just because the night sun isn't directly above it. That's night sun from the CHP chopper. So it is harder to get a really good look, but you can see the lights nonetheless. So speeds in the upper 70s here, Tim. This is very scary as we're seeing more vehicles on the road. And just the idea, again, I mean, we can't stress this enough, what a difficult job this is for law enforcement to lay down those spike strips.
Well, it's very difficult, especially on a freeway, because there's not a lot of places to hide, and you're exposed to the vehicle coming. So they're going to try to find that place that's advantageous to them, to where they can be in a safe position and be able to get the spike strips out on the road as this vehicle approaches. Because you can't have them out there too far ahead, because you have other vehicles coming down the freeway. So they will get into a position to where they're able to get those spike strips out into the road and be effective on this. And they're going to have to use multiple spike strips. It's not going to be a one and done like it would be with a car. But on a big rig, it's going to take multiple spikes to be able to get through those heavy-duty tires. And also that spikes are designed for, large trucks and vehicles, not big rigs and things of this sort, right? But, just, a matter of getting him into a position to where they can pull that off. But watching the mannerisms of the driver here as we're going along, is just kind of cruising along, and if somebody's close by, kind of goes over and misses that driver and kind of goes over and, pushes that big rig off to the side, makes them move out of their lane. To me, it just seems like somebody who is not all mentally there, somebody who is not, using good judgment, not using, what we would call normal procedures, normal actions, to where they would do something like that. Now, a person who stole the truck for the purpose of stealing the contents is going to try to get away, and all that other stuff, shaking the cab, going after the other vehicles on the road, is the least of their plan. They want to get that vehicle wherever it was going and get it there as quickly as possible. Now, they're being chased by the CHP. Their problem now is, I got to get away personally. I've already been caught. Now I personally have to get away from this vehicle, and I'm going to drive as far as I can, hoping to get into a place that I can jump out of the truck and take off running. Now, CHP has to be ready for any possibility. This guy could just basically let the truck keep going, jump out, and run across the freeway. Now they're going to have to deal with that. And then you have a big rig going down the road unmanned. They could just actually take it and drive it off the side, bounce it down the side of the freeway, and run out there. So the officers that are behind us are role-playing this thing all the way during this pursuit, trying to figure, what are we going to do if he does this? What are we going to do if they do that? And it's just, like I said, the driver of the big rig is the one who's going to dictate how this pursuit comes to an end.
Hey, Tim, what do you think of this? We're being told that this actually started in Bakersfield, that is where this big rig was stolen from at a gas station there, and then the pursuit started in Santa Clarita.
Yeah, that just tells me it came out of another area. Don't find out they're doing the same thing, trying to figure out what's in this vehicle. But hopefully they didn't get a good load of diesel on board, and this driver will run out of gas soon, before they have to go through any other type of procedures. But who knows, how much gas or how much diesel they got on board, and how far this range that this big rig has. So, like I said, it's just now a wait and see for us, and it's a wait and see for the CHP to see what this driver does, which way he goes, and plan ahead with those procedures and those spike strips, where they can put it into a place where they know where to put it in, they know where the freeway comes down, and then do the best they can. And there's not really too much more they can do.
Okay, now we're moving into the Duarte area. Tim, at what point, or maybe it is already, CHP being the lead agency, is this a multi-agency effort? I mean, as we go through all these various jurisdictions, I know once we stay on the highway, it is California Highway Patrol, but nonetheless, it seems that they could use the help of a number of agencies.
The way it works is, once the CHP takes over pursuit, the outside agencies, or the allied agencies as they're called, are not allowed to engage in the pursuit at all. CHP takes total control of it and will stay with it until they relinquish it. The great thing about CHP is they have offices stationed throughout the state. So Bakersfield could have started this, brought it up to the Grapevine, the Tejon office, that office that's right at the summit of Tejon, picks it up, brings it down into Santa Clarita. The Santa Clarita office picks it up, brings it into the central office, and now we have the Baldwin Park office coming up with their units, and they will trade off the units as it goes through each with office area of responsibility. The CHP do not call their substations departments; they're called offices. So their area of operation is designated, and as they come into each one, they'll hand it off. And the one thing about it is they have one central frequency that they go to when they're in a pursuit like this that everybody can hear. Even the local agencies can monitor that frequency to where they know where this pursuit is. So you see right there.
Yeah.
That was a local agency sitting on the overpass waiting to see what happens. So it's through their area. And now as we continue on, we're going to pick up the different jurisdictions, and they're going to be listening to see, is he going to get off in our town? And if the CHP helicopter starts running low on fuel, which it can after a long time, we don't know where that CHP helicopter came on. They'll call ahead like now we're coming into Ontario or into San Bernardino, and they'll call San Bernardino County Sheriff's, hey, can you come up, take the pursuit for us, and then follow it while we drop down and get gas and come back up. And there's a handoff like that among the area units to keep coverage. But as far as on the ground, you're only going to see CHP. And if they widen out, you're probably going to see a switch off where you'll see 3 cars sitting on the side of the road.
Oh, look at that, Tim. Did you see that?
Yeah, zipping by. Yeah, you're just going to zip by it and get ahead and probably just try to see what's up ahead, or maybe they're getting ready to set something up ahead of it. But what they do is you'll see 3 units on the side of the road. Those 3 units will start coming in, and then the 3 units that are behind the pursuit will slow up, pull out, and get off the freeway, and then the new units will take over, and that will continue on as it moves through the state, because they don't want Bakersfield CHP all the way down here in Azusa, because they don't know what the area is. They don't know the side streets once they get off. So as we make our turn through here on the 210, we're going to be coming up on the 605 here pretty quick. So it's just a matter of see if he goes south 605 or continues on the 210.
Now, we're just also getting some information from meteorologist Jonathan Novak, who obviously checks traffic conditions as well for us, and he notes that soon on the 210, there could be some work underway, construction, a work zone, and that could mean that the right lanes are closed ahead, so that could mean more of a bottleneck. So we'll see if that, in fact, does come to fruition. But so far, I mean, by and large, this suspect has had all the lanes of any of the highways that they've been on tonight. So again, this was on the 5 when we picked it up about 30 minutes ago, then 134, then now onto the 210 westbound in the Azusa area, passing, Citrus Avenue in Covina. We've seen speeds as high as 75, close to 80. It's been average in the 60s so far. A little bit of sort of that joyride mentality behind the wheel there, going back and forth with the wheel so that the cab was really wobbly. And then we've also seen the behavior of when there is an unsuspecting driver, that this suspect seems to go right at them to scare them almost. We've seen that behavior as well. Thank goodness traffic is light. We saw that CHP cruiser, though, speed up ahead, and, I know you said that means that they're going to go see what is up ahead. Maybe that's them figuring out, hey, we can do a spike strip up here, Tim.
Could be. It could be that they radioed ahead, and now the Baldwin Park officers, hey, there's a great spot up the ways here. Once you get up there and set something there, or it could be, a multitude of things why the unit shot ahead. But it's just a matter of trying to get intel. He could also have been trying to look inside the vehicle to be able to see if he can see anybody else in there. And I just went on radar here to check to see what law enforcement agencies were over the pursuit, and it looks like it's the LA County Sheriff's that's actually the helicopter that's overhead. So that switch off may have already happened with CHP, a helicopter to go get fuel and come back in. But right now, I just see the only law enforcement agency over the pursuit right now is LA County helicopter. So they're definitely going to be calling ahead to San Bernardino County to come over and take over for them because they don't want to get too far into San Bernardino County where they're kind of out of their element and have that local knowledge they don't have out there. So you try to put the best on the pursuit so the ending is a lot more coordinated for the guys on the ground. So have somebody there that knows where they're at. But, and like I said, getting ahead, you talked about the construction area coming up. Construction areas where it's okay to a point, other than there's cones, there's vehicles on the road, things of that sort. But if you notice when you drive home at night as you come out to a Caltrans work site, there's always a CHP officer sitting there, watching and keeping track. Now I'm sure they're well aware this pursuit is coming their way, and they're probably in the process of trying to get people off the freeway or getting the workers out of harm's way. And so this guy come plowing through and starts hitting cones and take out a Caltrans truck or take out some of those construction vehicles. Actually, that'd be a good thing because he'd disable himself and bring this thing to an end. And, like I said, with that CHP who's stationed there for that, road closure is well aware of this thing coming because of that one frequency they do use that everybody listens to on the CHP. Every car has capability of listening to that, and there's no areas where you have to switch from the different frequencies for the different offices of CHP. They go to that one central frequency that keeps everything well coordinated. So that's how they manage these pursuits as they go through multiple agencies. This thing can go all the way to the border, and they're always going to have 3 CHP units on it. So he's not going to get away from police cars behind him. He's not going to get away from the air units that are overhead because, as I said, they're going to be working handoffs with the helicopters as well to keep eyes on for the officers on the ground. And right now it's going so slow, the officers are just driving normal freeway speeds. But he's gone from the center divider now all the way over to the right side, and so it's just trying to figure out what he's going to do here. But he should be coming up on that 605 here any moment because as we work our way through here, there's only one way to go on the 605 when you get there, and that's south.
Yeah, and it looks like speeds are decreasing just a wee bit. So we see the flashing lights from the CHP. You mentioned that it's LA County Sheriff's chopper up ahead providing the night sun. So yes, this is multi-agency, and we'll see if in fact that road construction is up here. So far we haven't seen that. The details on this one are just so wild, given that this started reportedly in Bakersfield, picked it up in Santa Clarita when the actual pursuit started, and it was a big rig driver trying to get gas and got carjacked by this person, by the suspect. You know what, Tim, we actually haven't even discussed the idea that we don't know if there's more than one person inside the cab. Of course, law enforcement always assumes that there is, and they're armed.
That's you always have to assume there's more people than there are because it's easier to bring your level down than try to catch up. And I just checked the map again. We're past the 605 now, so we're committed to go out through the upland area, Rancho Cucamonga, and that area. So or actually Pomona in Upland right now is where he's at. So it's it's just everything in that with the information they tried to get from that driver who was filling the diesel tanks up. How many people jumped in? How many people are accosted you at the gas station? And then again, if you notice big rigs, they'll leave the engine running along just while they're sitting there. And it's that situation where the driver is outside on the right side of the cab filling up that right saddle tank, standing there, and all of a sudden the car drives away. He may not have a clue who's in the car or in the big rig because the guy could have just snuck in and took off. I mean, they do that in gas stations all the time where people will go in, leave their keys in the ignition, and while you're on the other side of the just weaving at that truck for no reason.
Yep, just to scare them. I mean, that's all you can think, right?
Well, yeah, and it's just to do things abnormal. I mean, there's no reason for that. If he's trying to get away with this load, there's no reason to try to force other vehicles off. So, and see as he goes by the car, he doesn't really go after the car so much except for that one. But the big rigs, he seems to want to get next to it, and then taunt them and move over and try to force them to leave that lane. Nothing really aggressive, but just enough. A big rig driver, like I said, these things are not that maneuverable, and a trained driver is going to do whatever he can to get himself out of harm's way in a hurry if somebody is encroaching on them to where they can. But you can see here, there's a unit sitting at the bottom down there, two more units waiting there.
Yep.
Yeah, so everybody's keeping an ear on this, and they know it's coming through their area, and they're just sitting waiting to see if it comes off in their town or if it continues on the freeway. But like I said, he's just using all lanes of the freeway, just kind of meandering around, not doing anything really crazy. He's not whipping back and forth, luckily, because once the inertia of that vehicle, starts moving, all that weight, it's kind of hard to control it. It'll start going out of control. And we don't know.
Let me just jump in here quickly. When there was the convergence of the other CHP officers there, we're wondering if there were some spike strips that were put out there, and maybe we didn't see that just because our vantage point is so far away. And then we saw SkyFOX just zoom into those mid-tires there to see if there was any damage done. So we're working to confirm and see if, in fact, spike strips were put out. That is the only way to bring this thing to an end. You can't do a pit maneuver. And this reminds me of, we cover these pursuits, and there are more than you would imagine that get away. And that usually happens when it's a much smaller, more nimble vehicle, when you can go into a parking structure and make a run for it. We've seen that often on our air. But, Tim, given the size of this thing, the big rig, you're not going to get away. I mean, you're just not going to get away.
Okay, I'm noticing dust or something coming up here every once in a while. You see dust come up from the side of it. So I don't know if it got to that. You see it right there coming up? Yeah. So it may have been a spike strip.
Yep. We're getting confirmation. We're getting confirmation from CHP that, in fact, you're seeing the sparks. Yep. Oh, this is not going to end well. So the CHP did successfully deploy a spike strip, and we see the damage that has been done to the front tire. And Tim, walk us through this as we're seeing the rubber completely gone now when we're on the rim, and we're in the speeds of 50. There it goes. The rubber is gone. Now we're on nothing but the rim.
Yeah, it starts tearing off the rubber because it heats up and starts melting. That was a big bumper. You just got ripped off by the rubber flying from the rim. And what's going to happen now is the maneuverability, the steerage of this vehicle is going to be very difficult because the drive is coming from those four wheels in the back. That's where the drive is coming from. The front wheels are merely for steering. And so did they get both front tires? Did they just get the left front? So right now you see a rim is down all the way to the metal. There is no rubber on there at all. And you see it's kind of weaving a little bit more. So, if the other tire got hit on the other side, it's going to get to a point to where he's not going to have directional control.
Well, we're hearing, Tim, that it was a success on the right front tire as well.
Oh, good. That's excellent. So now he's not going to be able to do speeds of any magnitude now because the problem is he's not going to be able to steer it. Once he starts drifting, and if he starts moving a direction too fast, he's not going to be able to change directions. He's either going to go over the side or into the center divider. So hopefully common sense and a little bit of common sense kicks in here to where he decides, you know what, I've given him my best, I'm going to give up, and we see the speeds coming down now.
Yep. I'm glad you clarified when you said common sense. We just saw more of the rubber go. Yeah. So he's now pulling over because I think at this point, we don't know who the suspect is. And it looks like this is now coming to an end with speeds into the 20s at this point, wobbly, which we saw even when the tires were there. Not a lot of common sense from this person, Tim, when you said maybe some common sense will kick in. Maybe that is happening now. Let's hope so. I mean, you're not going to go much further, and this can only end really badly if you think that you can outrun all all of the officers who were behind you. So it seems this is only a matter of time, and now we're getting the other side, and yep, no front tires at all, Tim.
Right, and also I looked on the rear there. There was that left rear looked like it was flapping as well. So they got their left rear tires too. So yeah, he's losing drive, he's losing motion, and now he's lost steering, and just now it's pushing the cab along. So very little control of that cab. So that's a good thing. It'll come to a slow stop, just pieces and parts falling off. And he's going to start dragging, he's going to grind those rims down so far, he's going to start dragging the frame of the big rig. And once it gets to that point, it's not getting enough power to push it. And plus, we don't know what's in that container, how heavy it is. But when this thing comes to an end, it's up to that driver suspect to determine how this pursuit's going to come to an end tonight. If it just gets out, gives up, everything goes nice and smooth. If it turns into a standoff, then we're going to have to call for armored vehicles to come up, because officers really have very limited view. You see guys just fighting to keep that thing in a straight line. Officers have a very limited view of that vehicle, and also that driver has access to the back of that rig. As I mentioned earlier, they've asked the driver who had this vehicle, do you have any weapons in your sleeping compartment in the back? Yeah, he's fighting it really hard here, trying to keep it going. And so you see, once you get to the shot of that left rear, you see the rubber flapping on it. So they got that tire as well. And so he's having drive problems, he's having directional problems, and like I said, he's either going to get up into the center divider wall, fend against it, or over the side if he goes to the right. But looks like he's going to try and push this as far as he'll go until it just gives up the ghost. But he's grinding those front rims down.
Yeah, and it looks like, or is that just the residuals of those mid tires, if they're compromised at all as well? They're taking the brunt of this. So, by the way, this is 210 westbound. Exit there is the Baseline Road in Ontario. Speeds now 15 miles per hour. You saw how close the black and whites are behind, just sort of waiting this out along with the rest of us. Spike strips, let's give kudos to CHP. We believe it was CHP. That's what we understand it to be, that threw out those spike strips on the 210 westbound. So hats off to CHP officers who successfully did that and compromised, completely wiped out those two front tires. Now we're riding on nothing but rims. I'm reminded I have covered a big rig pursuit on the 5 that lasted a very long time. It was a similar situation, Tim, where the spike strips resulted in the two front wheels gone, and eventually it caught fire. And the whole front cab has caught fire. It did catch fire, and that's what brought that pursuit to the end. So hopefully we don't see flames erupt. I've seen it before. As I'm looking at the clock, it's now midnight. You're watching an extended version of Good Night LA, weeknights at 11 o'clock, usually a 30-minute newscast. We're in our 4th week, and this is now into a 60-minute Good Night LA, because we've been following this stolen big rig pursuit out of Bakersfield. It was picked up in Santa Clarita. We're now in Ontario, where we have former police officer Tim Lynn on the line as we watch this hopefully come to an end at any given moment. You're getting flashes, Tim, of the suspect behind the wheel, and I can't imagine what it's like to drive a big rig like this, but then to drive one without front tires.
I imagine it's quite difficult. I would think so, because he has very little directional control with the vehicle, and probably not a lot of drive, because I see that one tire on the drive wheels there flapping rubber as it goes along. And I remember that pursuit you were speaking about, Marla, is that it drags the frame on the ground after a while once he wears those front rims down, and the friction builds up that heat, and then you have all those parts of the engine there. You have a lot of oil, you have diesel fuel, and it's just a matter of time before it builds up enough heat where it starts igniting, the residual oils that are on the bottom of that rig. And so that's what happened on that other one you were talking about. That went for, I forgot how many hours through the area. It was
No.
through the area. It was quite a long pursuit, but this one here is kind of taking on the same profile as he picks up speed now. And this is not good. At 54 miles an hour without steerage, this could go sideways in a big hurry if he has to make any maneuver, or if that truck gets out of straight line and starts swerving on him, and he tries to overcorrect. So, we just don't know. But he's also been just grinding those front rims down, and the more they grind, the less control he has with his vehicle. And like you said, it's difficult enough to drive these big rigs with everything working properly. I can't imagine the difficulty he must be facing. And I use the word he because we don't know if it's a man or a woman driving.
Right.
But the driver to be able to control this thing with very little steerage, and then also, kind of flopping tires in the back to where, it's got to be something. You see pieces and parts just flying off, and pretty soon that
Tim,
frame is going to come down.
Yeah, I mean, given what we were just talking about, that former pursuit that we covered with this big rig, a similar situation, and I mentioned that the whole cab caught fire. This is exactly that scenario. The flames, or the spikes, I should say, sparks. So the sparks, after the spike strips did their job, the wheels, the tires completely gone, speeds now into the 50s. It's almost like this person has a death wish at this point, Tim.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking at all, or he doesn't understand what's going to happen here when he loses total control of the vehicle or hits somebody. It's just a matter of time before he just will not be able to do this, and that flame will be on the ground. And if he stays on the gas pedal, it's going to end very badly for him. Like I said, if it goes over to the right side, there's a good chance he'll roll it. But if it goes in the center divider, unless he keeps his big speeds up, he may go through the center divider if he's at enough of an angle to it that he doesn't glance off. And then you see right there, as the unit was coming up on the freeway, he made kind of a move to the right, like he was after the vehicle, after the CHP vehicle that was coming up. But I can't imagine him having with this vehicle. As the sparks continue to grow under there, that's that friction I was talking about that's going to, and eventually it's going to get so hot and there's going to be so much grinding going on that, something's going to, and that's exactly what happened to that other big rig that we spoke about.
Yeah, so on that wide shot, we just saw those 3 CHP officers. We're seeing more debris fly off. Without the front tires, with all the sparks flying, and we're seeing, is it the axle there? I mean, at what point will this just give? Is that imminent?
Well, you see here, we're putting up, looks like it's still coming from the rims, so the rims are still holding the frame off the ground. And like I said, at a point when those rims will grind down and eventually start getting down into the frame. You're seeing more underneath the truck.
I think you're seeing flames.
Yeah.
I think we're actually seeing those flames.
What we talked about, and now it's going to catch fire, and he's going to have to make a decision here. How much further am I going to drive this with it in flames? And eventually it'll come up to the floorboard.
Yep, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Yep, exactly. So this is what's going to bring it to an end. It's going to be on fire. And one thing about it being on fire, that'll encourage him to get out of the truck. So it's not going to be a long standoff.
No, I mean, and since you do recall that other big rig pursuit where it ended literally with the whole cab igniting into flames, I mean, you saw that suspect at that point jump out as fast as they possibly could. So we could very well see this again. And look at all of those sparks, Tim. Mm-hmm. Look at all of those. And now you have to wonder about the CHP officers who are following behind.
Yeah, they're probably dodging coming off at him now, and as SkyFOX swings around to the right side, you're seeing now that that's just metal being ground on the concrete, being pushed by that truck, and it's just going to work its way up and burn the side of the vehicle, and then start setting off. Now he's going to have to get away from the sound wall here, but it looks like we're off the freeway, maybe here at Haven. And so we'll see what happens once he gets over here. But he's up on the side of the freeway, and now you're going to have to worry about.
And now you think about the trees. Okay, now we've stopped. Yeah. We've stopped, and now those flames could very well light up the hillside. And now you see the suspect running, making a run for it up the hill, Tim, doing his darndest to get to the top. He's making good ground considering. But you know that those CHP officers, they are there too. And there is a big retaining wall, as we're seeing, certainly a male suspect here. Looks like maybe a red. Now, how are you going to get over? How are you going to scale this wall?
It's going to be tough unless there's an access. They do have accesses along the way. There are little doors that go through to make access for fire department, but you're going to have some very well, he's over the fence and on to
there he is. Yep.
The
Still
road
got him.
And running. But you're going to have some very fit CHP officers coming over the freeway wall there and taking off with it. The Ontario, actually the San Bernardino County Sheriffs are overhead now, and they're probably communicating with the Ontario PD to where this suspect is going. He's going up to a house.
Going into, is this a single unit home? Yeah, it looks with a backyard.
Yeah.
This is Hermosa Avenue, by the way. And so we're seeing, you know, obviously the suspect's trying to figure out, where can I go? Where can I hide? I hope whomever is home, doors are locked. Looks like a young man, hat backward, hooded sweatshirt, gray, red interior here, now walking, trying to maybe play it cool.
There's a CHP officer going to come up on him. You see his flashlight going there, and now he's going to pick up speed. Yeah, the problem here is now you're going to hear, people are going to hear helicopters, they're going to hear sirens, and the one thing you do not want to do as a citizen is open your front door to see what's going on, because you might right at your front door just trying to find a place to go. My worry at this second doorknobs, my would be, should somebody be coming home now in their car and be pulling into this thing, because this guy will take the car in a heartbeat. But there's a CHP officer right behind you here and now has eyes on him. The problem, when he gets out of the car, then there may be a communications problem with the portable radio he's carrying, and the Ontario, or the San Bernardino County Sheriffs are overhead. So he's going to get caught.
It looks like the taser. You could see that the CHP officer just released the taser, perhaps.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the yellow taser come out.
Yep, yellow taser came out. Now we're under the eaves here. So this is the Ontario area. You see now another CHP officer, perhaps. They tased him. We're getting word, another officer. Now it looks like they have that suspect on the ground.
Yep.
Obviously, we're not getting a great view of that, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like, officers there. We saw that yellow taser come out, and then moments later, that suspect on the ground. Now, SkyFOX over, so you get really full perspective here of that big rig completely on fire, that cab. And we had talked about this, having covered a similar pursuit where it ended in the same fashion. A spike strip had damaged the vehicles so badly that those were gone, and then eventually, given that the suspect was not, and now thankfully it doesn't look like that hillside has caught fire, so let's hope that that doesn't happen. More CHP units descending on this neighborhood. What a rude awakening for these folks now that it's well past midnight on this now Thursday morning. We are getting word from CHP that that suspect is officially in custody, as now CHP has this scene to deal with. They need firefighters there as soon as possible to be able to get out those flames. You don't want this whole thing. We don't know what's in the container, the shipping container too, that this big rig was carrying. So as we look at this, I want to recap what we've just watched unfold here on Good Night. A stolen big rig pursuit that came to an end in Ontario. Started in Bakersfield. We picked it up in Newhall on the 5. It's now come to an end on the 210 freeway. Obviously, this freeway is now shut down because of this activity. The suspect driving this could no longer drive anymore until this thing was up in flames, then made a run for it into the up above, and now that suspect has officially been tased, and now has been taken into custody. I suppose the best thing that we can say is that no one was hurt, no one was injured in this really wild pursuit involving this big rig. Of course, we feel for the big rig driver who essentially got carjacked at that gas station. If I didn't say that, I don't think I made that clear in my recap. There was a big rig driver who was pumping gas in Bakersfield when that suspect carjacked this big rig. So we feel for that big rig driver who did get carjacked, and of course, you know, this is probably his livelihood. So we feel for him. We're glad though that no one was hurt. We're glad that this has come to an end. I suspect it's just a matter of time until until firefighting crew gets there to put out those flames, but CHP units are on it. We want to thank former police officer Tim Lynn for being with us for about the last hour here on Good Night LA. Could not have done it without you, Tim. I appreciate your expertise and your time. Hope you can now close your eyes and rest easy knowing that the suspect is in custody, Tim. Thanks so much for being with me tonight.
You're welcome. Glad to help out.
Okay, and for you at home watching along on Channel 11, we appreciate you. Obviously, we will continue to follow this, and we will have the very latest in just a few more hours. Starts. That's at 4 a.m. in less than 4 hours with Bob DeCastro and Brooke Thomas. And for now, as we send you off to sleep, I hope, here's an image of that big rig cab that is in flames. Let's hope that those flames get put out sooner than later. All right, that does it for me. I'm Marla Tejas. Thanks so much for being with me tonight. We'll send you off to programming already in progress.
For a period of time, it will be sucked through the intakes and distributed evenly through a place.
And that curious matter of the toilet seat being up when logically it should have been down.
And that's the bathroom that the defendant indicated he was in.
Yes. Well, objection, Your Honor. I move to have that stricken.
When the prosecution tried to enter that as evidence in court, the defense successfully objected. Brett's attorney told us it was just a family habit to leave the toilet seat up to make things easier for their young son.
He has a 6-year-old child. Every time the child comes in from school or any place else, he runs to the bathroom right away. Brett and his wife always put the seat up.
He hears shots fired in his house, and he's going to think about putting the toilet seat up?
It's an automatic reaction if you do it every day.
It was explainable behavior. The motive was flimsy, said the defense. Now it attacked the state's forensic evidence. The defense used the amount of gun